This is Indonesia, a country consisting of over 17,000 islands and around 130 active volcanoes. And in this video, I will be attempting to survive 100 days here among these islands. That means I'll have to survive the extreme weather, heat, and of course, the dangerous wildlife, like the Komodo dragon. However, while I explore these islands and the wonders they have in store, I will also be following quests to hunt down 4 of Indonesia's most terrifying myths in an attempt to free these islands from their dark presence. But with that being said, let's get started. Now, before we get into the video, I do have 2 announcements to make. And yeah, I know I'm in a new environment. I'm currently moving apartments, and this is where I am in the meantime. It's very scary here. Anyways, first announcement, the ambient channel is finally here. I know that a lot of you use these videos to study, sleep, or work. So I've ended up getting a lot of requests for an ambient channel where you can tune in and listen to the music and environment of each location. So go check that out. It'll be linked in the description. As for the second thing, well, we have a sponsor. You guessed it, it is Name Hero. If you want to play Minecraft with your friends on reliable servers, then Name Hero is the choice for you. Their prices are affordable, especially when compared to other server hosts. But my favorite thing about Name Hero is that their panel is really easy to use. I've had so much trouble in the past with server panels being too complicated and having installation issues, but Name Hero simplifies all of that and has support ready 24/7. But even beyond that, Name Hero offers in-game help. They have a tutorial for everything from installing shaders to getting a mending villager. But look, you don't have to take my word for it. Name Hero is a very well-reviewed and well-trusted company that delivers on their promises. So be sure to use the link in the description or in the pinned comment if you're looking to get a Minecraft server anytime soon. But with that being said, we have a lot of islands to explore. So without further ado, let's get started with Daya. I spawned in and was immediately met with chaos. Oh good, off to a great start. What is that? Ooh, oh! No, this is a bad start. This is a very bad start. Yeah, I had no choice but to swim away from these hornets. But of course, they followed. That's multiple. There was really nowhere else I could go, so I just kept swimming. Until eventually, they were gone. Are they gone? Just like that? So I tried to get some wood, but then another hornet showed up. Now I was already on 1 heart. So once again, I started swimming. They were not gone. They were not gone. They were not gone. Finally, I had lost the hornets, and was now able to properly get some wood. From here, I went ahead and crafted a wooden pickaxe. And then I mined into the ground to get stone. I then used that stone to craft some stone tools, as well as this furnace. See, I needed both food and water desperately in order to heal, so I crafted some water bottles and drank up. Now that meant it was time for me to hunt. So I made my way along this river, looking for any wildlife that would drop food. Eventually, I spotted a cassowary. Oh, hello there. I know what you are. You're a cassowary, is that right? Also, you're very dangerous. I towered up and hit it. Luckily, it couldn't reach me. We're friends. You are my friend. Good friend. The bird dropped a lot of meat, so I decided not to go after its friend, but instead I got to cooking. While it cooked, I crafted a boat, but then the sun began to set. I rode along the river and soon reached the coast. That's where I saw this structure. What is this? Alright, let's get inside, let's get inside. No seagulls, no seagulls, no seagulls. No seagulls. No seagulls. We're not gonna go in there, actually, I don't think. Oh, there's a whale sharks. Oh, no. Okay, that was my food. That was my food. With no other option, I burrowed. I did end up finding some gold and redstone, but later into the night, I heard something really unsettling coming from the forest above me. See, I don't like that. I'm not the biggest fan of whatever that was. I emerged from my burrow the next morning, and went to take another look at the structure next door. I quickly put the spiders in a box, and then crafted a sword so I could collect all the string. I ended up getting a lot of string, so I used it to make wool, and then I finally crafted a bed. From there, I left the treehouse and headed inland, where I would find my first objective. See, as I mentioned in the intro, here in Indonesia, my goal is to hunt down 4 of the most notorious mythical creatures that you can find within these islands. The first person I need to meet with is on the island of Papua, as they're an employee of an abandoned resort in a place called Baliam Valley. Luckily for me, it looks like I spawned in Papua, as these structures belong to the Korowai, an indigenous group known for their tall tree houses here on the island. So I made my way inland, in search of the valley. Only as I rode, I passed many hostile creatures. Oh wow, more hornets! I was just thinking, I want more hornets. That's awesome, I'm so glad that more hornets showed up. Oh, more crocodiles. It's funny, I was just thinking, I want more crocodiles. Eventually, I saw more Korowai houses. So naturally, I decided to climb up one. But then this happened. I rode away as fast as I could, now heading deeper into the mountains of western Papua. As the sun set on my second night in Indonesia, my hunt for Baliam Valley only became more desperate. I headed further inland the next morning, and decided to try and catch some fish. But these guys were really fast. I only ended up killing one, and it didn't really help my hunger much. However, after a lot more rowing, I eventually entered a mountainous valley. And that's when I spotted a structure. That's something up there, isn't it? That's something up there. I slowly made my way up the mountainside, and found what had to be the Baliam Valley Resort. Well, this is quite nice. This is definitely where I'm meant to meet my contact. Huh. Yeah, look at that. Speaking of... Oh, hello there.
Good day.
Hello, Smitty. I'm so glad you finally made it. I don't know how much longer I can stay here. The situation has gotten really bad. What situation? Well, as you can see, the resort is empty. Even the nearby villages are empty. Everyone has left because of the spirit. Many have fallen ill. Many have been reduced to bones. I don't know what to do, but I do have a lead. A lead? Yes, there was a guest here recently. A man who is trying to hunt down the Suanggi. I don't know what happened to him, but apparently he had a letter that gave him valuable information about the evil spirit. I would check all of the rooms to see if you can find it. Yeah, alright. Thank you, Smitty. Please be careful. The Suanggi isn't like the other creatures you've hunted. This one can change into any living person. Trust no one. Yeah, alright, well, how am I meant to trust you then? By that logic, you could be the Suanggi, couldn't you? I searched each hotel room for this supposed information on the Suanggi. Along the way, I also collected as much wool as I could. That is, until I found the room. Oh, well, are you the person then? You had a nice view. And then you had to just go and die. Alright, let's see, what's this? I took the book that was on the floor, and then went to check into my very own room. I mean, look at that. That is quite a nice view. As the night set in, I went ahead and read the letter that I had found. Dear son, the Suanggi has plagued our family for generations. Your ancestor encountered it when he lived here generations ago. I just know that he uncovered something. Unfortunately, he went missing while trying to find treasure near the summit of Puncak Jaya. That's where you need to search. Find him, and you will find out how to defeat the Suanggi. I'm sure of it. But please, be careful. As I looked back over the letter, I heard some very strange noises coming from right outside my room. But when I looked out the window, I saw something completely unexpected. That's because I saw myself in the hotel room next door. No, that's... It's just left. It's just left. That was me. That was literally me. Sure enough, I had just had an encounter with the Suanggi. This is the Suanggi, an extremely negative spirit that comes from the folklore of eastern Indonesia. These dark beings are said to be shapeshifters, with the ability to cast curses upon others, while also having a human-driven appetite. In the 16th and 17th centuries, accusations of being a Suanggi carried a lot of weight, as supposedly mobs would form, and a twisted fear-driven justice would prevail. There is a lot of interesting history surrounding this one, but all I know is that it's the first mythical creature that I'm hunting. My objective now is to find the remains of this explorer, who had important information on the Suanggi. But he went missing near the summit of Puncak Jaya, a huge mountain that isn't too far from here. As I left the abandoned resort the next morning, I knew that I really needed to heal up before looking for the explorer. Luckily for me, I found this monitor a little later, so I put him in a box, and swiftly killed it, before then healing up. I then continued on my way to the shore. I arrived at the beach the next morning, and this is where I decided to stop and craft an atlas, as I will definitely need help finding this mountain. Okay, so to craft this, I need a compass and a book. Compass is going to be the hard part because I need redstone and iron. So I got to digging, but ended up mining right into a vein of iron. With that, I crafted an iron pickaxe, and then went to mine the gold and redstone from the burrow that I made the other night. Finally, I was able to craft a compass, but now I just need a book. So I got some wood, and then started shaving bark off of it. From there I crafted paper, and then made the atlas. Looks like a lot of beach right here. I guess it'll fill out as I go. And with that, I rode west for the rest of the day. As I rode along the island of Papua, I used my atlas as a guide, and soon found myself at a rather large river opening. It looked like it headed into the mountains, so I decided to take this path. Of course, there were crocodiles here, but I headed up into the trees and followed the river. As I headed further into the mountains, I realized that I really needed food again. So after hearing an animal, I made my way to the ground, only to see that it was just a sugar glider. However, this led me to spot a cassowary nearby. So I killed it, and then I found another. Needless to say, I now had plenty of food to cook. So with that, I continued up into the mountainous terrain, and even caught some catfish that evening. By the next morning, I was starting to really climb in elevation. I just kept following the river, hoping that it would lead me near the mountain. So the atlas seems to show lots of mountains, and then even more mountains, which I would say is correct. As I climbed some more, a huge mountain suddenly appeared before me. This thing was steep, and after a few more steps, I had also found the end of the river, or I guess the beginning. Either way, this meant that it was time to scale the rocky wall in front of me. I slowly made my way up the mountainside, climbing higher and higher in elevation. Soon enough, I was in the clouds. Yeah, I could barely see anything around me, and by now, I had reached the top of the rocky wall. It seemed to drop down into a barren valley, so I just kept following it. Until I began to freeze. I immediately crafted some wool clothes, and was able to warm up. However, that's when I spotted something nearby. Okay, I literally just crafted this. That's not helpful. As I left the tent the next morning, the clouds had cleared, which gave me a direct view of the mountain. This is Puncak Jaya, the tallest mountain in Oceania, making it one of the 7 summits of the world. At almost 5,000 meters, or 16,000 feet high, this rocky giant is one of the few tropical mountains in the world that has glaciers. Now, some people refer to this mountain as Karsten's Pyramid, named after the first European to spot this mountain. But Puncak Jaya is the Indonesian name, meaning glorious peak. Regardless of what you call this mountain, it is known to be one of the most technically difficult of the 7 summits, thanks to how remote it is and its infamously steep walls of rock. I began my ascent, and soon found some markers to follow. I carefully made my way up the mountain, while also keeping an eye out for any hints as to where this explorer might be. Only that's when I came across the ropes. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. I really did not like this. But at least I was making some progress. And only a short while later, I reached the summit. I'll be honest, this is pretty cool, but it is very high up. Like, look at that. Now it was time for me to properly look for this explorer. I began by searching the area immediately around the summit, and then I even mined into it that afternoon. And the next morning, I continued my search lower down. I gradually searched each spot along the trail, until eventually, I saw a strange source of light. That's light. There's a light source right there. I'm sure there's like a button or something. I mean, I could just mine through this. Oh wait, I see it. As this door opened, I was sure that this is where I would find him. This is literally just Indiana Jones. Okay. So we're not going to step on the plates, I think. I think that would be the best decision here. I decided to mine these pressure plates as I went, carving out a path for myself. Shortly after, I arrived at the back of the temple, and that's where I found the explorer. I wanted to be quick in here, so I immediately grabbed the skeleton for some reason, and then the book. Did I take it? Okay. You have to have the cool Indiana Jones moment, but I didn't expect to have the cool Indiana Jones moment like that. That was not a cool Indiana Jones moment for me. But it did look really cool. It did look really cool. It did look so cool. Yeah, I have to give a huge thanks to the map coordinator for these videos, my friend Oshin, as he does find some creative and impressive ways to try and kill me. But with that being said, I made my way back to base camp to read the book. January 1667. There has been much talk of selling our islands to the Dutch. I say let them have it. These islands are cursed. I've seen it for myself. The Suanggi is real, and it embodied my friend. This all happened on the island of Bandeneira. Besides, that volcano seems active. Maybe it'll take both the Dutch and the Suanggi out. After all, I hear that fire is an effective way to kill this unearthly spirit. Now I begin my expedition to Karsten's Pyramid, where I hear there is treasure. Well, my friend, I'm afraid that, you are dead, and now you're a tiny skeleton in my hand. So essentially, it looks like I need to head to Bandeneira, which is a small island way out here. This is where I will use the volcano there to finally bring an end to the Suanggi. And so, the next morning, I made my way back to the coast, as I will need a proper ship in order to sail to Bandeneira. I made it to the beach on day 11, and then got right to work on building it. See, for this base, I went to build a mayang, which is a traditional Indonesian fishing boat. I built up the base of the ship today, but also noticed this crocodile moving into my area. The next morning, I got to work on building an engine, which isn't too hard to craft, but it does require some iron. So I got to mining, and after a while, I found my iron. I then crafted the ship helm, followed by the ship engine. Oh, and I also crafted a shield, as more and more crocodiles were arriving. In fact, the next morning, I had to lure this one away from the boat, before then building the rest of it. The boat didn't really need to look good yet, I just needed it to sail properly. But in order for it to float, I did need to craft floaters, and these require string. So I decided to head back to those Korowai houses that I saw earlier. And upon reaching them the next day, I was very happy to see that there weren't any hornets here. But there were definitely spiders. So I just snuck my way around and destroyed the cobwebs, before moving on to the roof, where I destroyed these campfires in order to collect charcoal. Then at the very end of the day, I collected some bamboo. I returned to my ship on day 15, and from there I crafted a lot of floaters. I also crafted a fishing rod, as I needed food again. Anyways, I placed as many floaters as I was able to, but I couldn't finish, thanks to the crocodiles coming closer to me. Moment of truth. Not bad. Not bad at all. And with that, I set off for Bandeneira. I then finished the day with some much needed fishing. As I continued my journey to Bandeneira, I started to work on the main cabin of the boat. I made some bamboo roofing and also added some to the interior, before deciding to sail through the night. On the morning of day 17, I spotted an island. This definitely wasn't Bandanera, but that didn't stop me from heading ashore. After all, this monitor could be a good source of food. As I hunted it, the monitor bit me. So I towered up and finished it with a jump attack. I then continued west, knowing that I was heading in the general direction of Bandanera. As I sailed through day 18, I spotted another island. Once again, this was not Bandanera, and now I was beginning to worry that I'd sailed way too far north. However, as I went around this island, I saw something ahead. There was a large fort on the island in front of me, and just beyond that fort, there was a town. This is Bandanera, the main inhabited island of the remote Banda archipelago. And this is Banda Api, an active volcano that sits adjacent to the island. Now, Bandanera acted as the trading hub for the surrounding Spice Islands, which is a name given to the islands just west of Papua, as these islands were known for their valuable spices during European imperialism. In fact, the story of the Banda Islands is quite dark, as the colonial conquest of the islands led to thousands of Bandanese losing their lives. And you might ask, well, what spice was so important to the Dutch that it led to all of this? Well, it was nutmeg, as nutmeg was extremely valuable and native to the islands. Today, traditional Bandanese culture lives on through the descendants of the natives who survived all those years ago, and Bandanera remains as both a scenic tropical hideaway and a powerful piece of Indonesia's vast history. As I sailed along the town, I saw someone who had a quest symbol at the dock. Hello? This island isn't what it used to be. There's barely anyone here. The ports are empty. Yeah, what's going on? We've all seen it. I don't even know what it is. The caretaker at the fort seems to know a lot about it. But then again, he's a bit crazy. I decided to check out the town. Oh, look at that. A little throwback to the last episode there. That's funny. And they have coffee, because Kenya has good coffee. I'm taking it. Okay. That was maybe not the best idea. I should have saved that. Hi. Not having a good time, huh? Okay. Bandanera? As the sun set on the island, I figured that it would be best for me to stay here for the night and see if the Suanggi comes out. So, as the stars emerged, I walked along the waterfront and even checked inside the buildings. But I had no luck at all. I then decided to check on the coffee shop. Oh. Okay. Okay. That's the noise that I heard. It's in here. It has to be on the other side of that wall. It has to be. Ooh! Dude! Okay. As I left the shop, I saw her on the balcony. Ooh! So I quickly decided to break the floor underneath her. Ooh! Ooh! I shouldn't have done that! Okay. Alright, yeah, that's right, that's right. I've gotten better at PvP. Uh-huh. That's right. Ooh! I have not gotten better at PvP, apparently! I ran as fast as I could, with her chasing right behind me. I then jumped in the water and swam. Okay, okay. Yeah, there she is. There she is. Oh. You can't just disappear like that. I wasn't done with... I was done. Yeah, I was done with you. I'm done. Yeah. The next morning, I did some fishing in order to heal back up. I then decided to head over to Fort Belgica, so I could find this caretaker. As I made my way through the fort, I ended up finding some hay bales, which I took for food. Then I finally found the caretaker. So let me guess, you're the one that hunted those creatures up in the Philippines. Yes, that's me. Impressive, but don't get too cocky. Anyways, that volcano over there hasn't been active in centuries. Weird coincidence that it's suddenly active, huh? Definitely weird, yeah, sure. Well, if you end up killing this spirit, head back my way. Then I'll know you'll be able to defeat this other evil that my friend is dealing with. Ooh, okay. What evil? That's for you to find out once you've dealt with this one. Alright, so you will then lead me to the next mythical creature after this one. Love these narrative devices. Very good, very good. Now, I remember reading in the Explorer's Journal that fire is a good way to kill the Suanggi. So I'm going to hike up the volcano and see if there's like lava up there, since it's erupting. And so, I set off to climb Banda Api. I swam across the water separating the islands, and then began my ascent. Now you can climb this volcano in real life, but it is meant to be a rather difficult hike, which I was definitely experiencing. I reached the top of the volcano that very night. So the next morning, I went ahead and crafted a bucket, before then making my way along the magma to find some lava. I then carefully hiked my way back down the side of the volcano. As I reached the base, I swam back over to the fort, as this is where I want my showdown with the Suanggi to occur. Upon arriving at the fort, I simply waited for the sun to set. I walked along the walls of the fort that night, waiting to hear the Suanggi. However, I didn't end up hearing it first. No, I ended up seeing it down by the beach. Alright. I can work with that. No. I just saw you. I continued walking around the fort, and then, later into the night, I finally heard it coming from the room below me. Is that below me? Ooh, that's right below me. Ooh, okay. Alright. I then got down to its same level, and went to dig into the wall. Only it was right there, waiting for me. Ooh! I quickly placed my lava, but she dodged it, and then she just kept coming for me. All I could do was circle around the lava, hoping that she would just step into it. But she didn't. So I eventually decided to run. I soon lost her, but I knew that I needed to finish this tonight. So I reluctantly headed back. However, that's when I came up with the plan. See, I've noticed that the Suanggi follows me wherever I go, so I thought maybe I could take advantage of that. I began to bridge out over the lava, and sure enough, she followed. And after a few seconds of burning, she was gone. I had officially defeated the Suanggi. As I cleaned my inventory, I noticed that the Suanggi had actually dropped something. Regardless, it was now time to go and talk to the caretaker. Alright, I did it, Brom. Here you are. Oh, don't even know what noise that was, but okay. I can't believe you did it. Good job, kid. Now you're ready for the real evils of these islands. Head over to my friend. He's been dealing with something nasty. You'll find him fishing between the islands of East and West Nusa Tenggara. Alright. Before I left, I ended up finding a good amount of iron within the fort, which I then got to smelting back on my ship. And after a lot more smelting and crafting, I ended the day by placing 3 new engines. The next morning, I set off towards East Nusa Tenggara, which is more or less southwest of here. And yeah, at this point, I'm just going off of a real map of Indonesia, as the atlas proved to be pretty unhelpful. With that being said, I sailed my way through the next few days out in the open ocean. But in the very early morning of day 27, I spotted an island. I was completely unsure of what island this was, but what I did know is there was no fishing boat in sight. By the time the sun rose, I was still sailing along the island, which told me that this was likely East Nusa Tenggara. So I just kept heading west, until I eventually passed it. A short while later, another island came into view. So I went around this one as well. However, off the northern shore of this island, there was a boat. Hello. Hello, sir. I can't talk right now. I don't know what to do. Are you the fisherman that Brahm knows? Yes, I know Brahm. Did he send you to come and help me with the evil head? Doesn't matter actually. I have a much bigger situation right now. And what situation is that? My pet Merrick. It's stuck on that island. I left it with my tent in a cave. I didn't know I was camping at Komodo Island. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Don't know. I can't go and get it. I shouldn't be saying that, but I know it's a quest I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to go to Komodo Island and get the pet, and there are gonna be Komodo dragons, and it's gonna be a whole thing. Do I want it to be a whole thing? I mean, yeah, it's entertaining, but I don't want to deal with Komodo dragons right now. I don't want to do that. Please, I will tell you everything you need to know about the floating head. Just please get Merrick back. See, I don't even know what's going on with this head. I don't know what that's all about, but I'll get your pets, whatever it is. I rowed my way over to the island and reluctantly went ashore. And that evening, I began making my way up a mountain. I continued my cautious search the next morning. I hadn't spotted any dragons yet, but I also hadn't spotted the cave that the fisherman's pet was in. However, as I made my way towards the beach, I heard a hiss. Oh! I saw one here in the greenery, and it charged right at me, so I ran to the water immediately. And then I towered up, only to see that it had left me alone. Uh-huh. I see you. Just watching me. I see you. So with that, I continued my search, now climbing up the mountain. Only this is where I began to overheat. So I made my way back to the water and cooled off. I knew that crafting leaf armor would be the only way to keep me cool, but for that, I needed shears. So I decided to spend the rest of the day mining for iron. And I eventually did find some that afternoon. From there, I crafted the shears. Oh, and I also crafted some more iron armor. The next morning, I knew it was time for me to get my leaves. So I made my way up this mountain looking for some. Only that's when I spotted another Komodo dragon. So I quickly towered up. And it just ended up stalking the base of my tower. Oddly enough, as soon as I pulled out my lava bucket, it decided to leave. Yeah, probably a good choice. Anyways, I finally went to get my leaves, but as I did, this happened. Not a fan of that. No, not a fan of that. Very much not a fan of that. As soon as the coast was finally clear, I slowly lowered myself down and just ran up the mountain as the nearest leaves were being guarded. Funnily enough, this is when I found the cave. Oh, okay. Yeah, ooh, I'm overheating. Okay, I'll be back for you. I immediately ran back down the mountain, and that's when I saw a ton of Komodo dragons in front of me. I had no choice but to run anyways, as I was losing health fast. Please. I got myself underwater just in time. This is the most stressed I've been in a long time. That's not true. College isn't fun. But this is... I don't know what that is. Probably bad. When I was finally done ranting, I knew I needed to go and get this peacock. I had to just get this over with no matter what. So I carefully made my way inland and crafted the leaf armor that afternoon. The next morning, I began my new plan. This really just consisted of me towering up really high. And then bridging over the Komodo dragons. Upon finally reaching the cave, I took a look around and found this fried rice. Anyways, I then got the peacock, and we made our way down the other side of the mountain. I knew there could be Komodo dragons in any of the foliage around me, but I just kept going. There was truly nothing else I could do. But eventually, my tenacity paid off as we reached the ocean. Alright, I'm leaving the peacock here for you, okay? Yeah, never again, by the way. Okay, thank you so much. I have my Merrick back. Oh yes, about the head. I've been tracking it for weeks. I have so many documents and notes on it up in my office and Camp Leakey. To get there, head directly north until you reach central Kalimantan. Then follow the rivers of the Tanjung Puting Park as far as you can. My office is next to a boardwalk. Good. Great. The next morning, I began my trip to central Kalimantan, which is up here on the island of Borneo. And Borneo is the third largest island in the world, right behind New Guinea and Greenland. Anyways, as I make my way north, let's discuss the island and animal that I just survived. This is Komodo Island, one of the 3 main islands within Komodo National Park. Here on this volcanic island, you can find one of the only pink beaches in the world, thanks to fragments of the nearby reef mixing with the white sands of the island. But of course, this island is home to another rarity, as Komodo National Park is the only place in the world where you can find the infamous Komodo dragon in the wild. These giant monitors are the largest living species of lizard, hence the name Komodo dragon. They also get that name thanks to their aggressive nature. But it doesn't stop there, as Komodo dragons are also the heaviest lizards, and they have a venomous bite. These guys are truly evolutionary anomalies, and once again, they are exclusive to Indonesia. I sailed my way north over the next few days, and ended up running out of fuel somewhere along the way. However, that didn't really matter to me, as on day 36, I spotted what had to be Kalimantan. I wasn't sure where along the island I was, but I did know that if I kept sailing west, I would eventually find the park where the fisherman's office is located. With that being said, I decided to work on my base today. I wanted to add another floor to it, so I just worked on that all day. before realizing that I really needed more bamboo. So the next morning, I continued along Kalimantan, and really just sailed along the shore for almost the entire day. That is, until I spotted this muddy river path, one that hosted plenty of crocodiles. I could only hope that this was the Tanjung Puting National Park, so I decided to follow the river. My boat barely fit at some sections, and I also had to watch out for the crocodiles. But later that evening, I heard a strange noise. I went to go investigate it. And then, I finally saw it. An orangutan. Yeah, I absolutely led this guy back to my boat. After crafting some trapdoors, he was secured as my companion. Only that's when I saw something flying around the night sky. That is not a bat. Is it coming closer? The next morning, I continued along the winding river path. However, I soon found myself in a clearing, with a large structure ahead of me. That's how I knew that I was in the right place. Sitting at the bottom of Borneo, you can find a coastal tropical environment unlike any other, with wildlife that makes this park truly famous. But of course, within this area you can also find one of the many indigenous groups of Indonesia, the Dayak. Now as for Tanjung Puting, this national park started out as a game reserve in 1935. But when its biodiversity was finally recognized by the government, it was made into a proper national park in 1982. And it's not hard to see why, as Tanjung Puting is home to animals like the Malaysian sun bear, the elusive clouded leopard, and of course, over at Camp Leakey, the most famous animal within the park, the orangutan. These guys are some of the most intelligent primates, as they share around 97% of the same DNA with us humans. Orangutans can also weigh up to 100 kilograms, or around 220 pounds. But unfortunately, all three species of orangutan are critically endangered, with hunting and deforestation being the biggest threats. See, orangutans only exist in the wild on the islands of Sumatra and Borneo. But on the bright side, both Indonesia and Malaysia are finally securing steps to protect these forests. I made my way inside the Dayak longhouse, and took some charcoal from these campfires, before then continuing along the river. However, by the next morning, I had yet to find Camp Leakey in the office that resided there. Instead, I found myself at the coast, where there was both a structure and a person. Hello. May I speak to you? Do you have something of importance for me, or are you just... Oh, okay. You must be Smitty. I know who you are and what your purpose is. Anyways, are you looking to climb Batu, Daya? Am I supposed to say yes? I'm gonna go with no. Ah, we'll come back if you change your mind. What a weird thing to say, okay. I turned my boat around and continued deeper inland. And that night, I saw the floating head again. I see, that's the floating head that they're talking about. Only this time, it managed to attack me through the boat. Then I simply watched as it flew around the night sky. As I sailed past the longhouse again, I saw some iron in the ground. I went ahead and started collecting it, before then smelting it. I then continued further into Tanjung Puting. But that afternoon, I came into a clearing. I was told that the office is along the boardwalk. Ooh, bamboo. I carefully went to collect some bamboo. Oh, yeah, that's a bear. But I almost stumbled upon this Malaysian sun bear. Anyways, the next morning, I stored the bamboo, before crafting an iron sword, and some more armor. I then went to follow the boardwalk, wary of the many crocodiles below me. Soon enough, I saw the office. And then I saw this vehicle. This is so fast. And so potentially dangerous. Before entering the office, I did some fishing. Once inside, I found some orangutan plushies which I immediately took. Then I entered the actual office. Ooh, okay. Netting. This could actually be useful. The Kuyang is real, and I have seen it with my own eyes. It is here on the island of Borneo. So please, stay in Bandanera, old friend. Do not come here. I do have a theory that ties the Kuyang to a location. I believe the Kuyang is somehow related to Batu Daya, the large, mysteriously spiritual mountain in West Kalimantan. However, before climbing Batu Daya, one must seek permission from a Dayak elder. That's where I'm stuck. I think they would accept honey as a fair payment, but I am allergic to bees. I don't know what to do. Oh, that is unfortunate. That's unfortunate. It's fortunate for me because now I get to give them honey, I guess, with this bottle. I remembered seeing a beehive nearby, so I went out and collected some honey. Only I was suddenly bitten by an insect of some kind. But as I ran to the dock, the worst possible thing happened. Oh, that's two things. That's two things. That's two things. That's that. That's that. That's that. I realized that I needed to try and fight this thing, just to see how difficult it was. So I headed back, and first took care of the giant insect. Then I raised my shield, and went in to attack. Only it ended up hitting me through the shield. I tried one more time with this thing, but I couldn't even land a hit. So yeah, I had to run. As I made it back to my boat, I looked up, only to see it flying around the night sky. But I should consider myself lucky for surviving an encounter with the Kuyang. This is the Kuyang, an incredibly dark entity born from the stories of the Dayak people. According to legend, the Kuyang is the head of a woman who practiced dark magic in an attempt to retain her beauty and youth. But the price of this magic is that she is now a bloodthirsty, malevolent being. She uses her long, sharp tongue to drain the blood of her victim, before returning to her body by sunrise. This is one of the most infamous legends in all of Indonesia, and it is now the next creature on my list to hunt. I sailed through day 42, making my way back to the Dayak camp on the beach. And upon arriving there on day 43, I spoke once more to the man here. I'm currently studying with the Dayak groups of Central and West Kalimantan. If you can get me a bottle of honey, I'm sure I can pass the message along, and they will bless your trip to the mountain. Alright, well look at that. I already have your honey. Alright. You have their blessing and permission. Here, use this GPS to find the mountain. It's around those numbers. Let me write this down. So that's not too far from here, it looks like. It's gonna be in this direction. What's this? Climbing gloves. Okay. Let's see how these work. Oh yeah, wow. That is huge. This is very big. And with that, I set off in the direction of Batu Daya. I traveled up the west coast of Kalimantan the next morning. But as I sailed, I went ahead and got started on the next floor of my boat. Yeah, I just placed a lot of roof today. And the next morning, I simply continued to follow my GPS towards Batu Daya. Only that's when I saw another muddy river entrance. And then, I saw something really odd. It's the same dude. Oh, now your title is different. You're a shaman. What's with you, man? Alright, what's your deal? While you should not show this spirit any kindness, there are others on these islands that are simply lost. After you're done here, I want you to meet me in Tana Toraja. There is much to learn about how we view the afterlife here among these 17,000 islands. As I headed further into the tropical forests of West Kalimantan, I realized that I was aligned with the X-coordinate of Batu Daya in the GPS. So I disembarked and headed into the forest on foot. And sure enough, the next morning I saw the mountain towering before me. Standing at over 3,000 feet, or almost 1,000 meters tall, Bukit Batu Daya has a rather daunting presence over the surrounding tropical landscape. Its sheer cliffs make it a popular challenge for rock climbers. But before one takes on such a challenge, it is recommended that they receive a blessing from the local Dayak community, as this mountain is regarded as both sacred and deeply mysterious. All I know is that this is where I will find something related to the Kuyang. As I reached the base of it, I realized that I couldn't climb it just yet, as I really needed food. So I made my way back to the river, and fished through the evening. The next morning, I headed back to Batu Daya, and began my climb in the early afternoon. I knew this wouldn't be an easy climb, but the climbing gloves definitely did help. As I made my way up the steep cliffside, the sun began to set. I was already so close to the top, so I just pushed on. Only I soon saw that I wasn't alone. Yeah, the Kuyang was here, but I just kept going. And eventually, after scaling the entire mountain, I arrived at the top. This is where I immediately saw something in the distance. But as I approached the strange structure, I lost sight of the Kuyang. That is, until I arrived at a headless body. I had no time to investigate it as the head was right in front of me, but I decided to attack. This time I landed a few solid hits, before realizing that I had to retreat now. Ooh. I was narrowly able to make it away from the Kuyang, so I healed up while I could. And then I headed back. I knew that I had to kill the body, so then the head would have no place to return to. So that's just what I did. I'll see it. Let's do this. Ooh! You fight back! Okay. This is really cool. Okay. That is a cool drop. I looked around for the Kuyang, but it was nowhere to be found. Not that it mattered anyways, as something was about to take care of it for me. Kuyang had been defeated. I made my way back to the boat, and then sailed out of Kalimantan the next day. I set sail for Tana Toraja, where the mysterious NPC had told me to go. Now, Tana Toraja is over here on the island of Sulawesi, so it won't be too hard for me to find. But with that being said, my sailing took me through the next few days. I was out in the open ocean on day 54. I even saw some whale sharks out here. But while I sailed, I decided to go ahead and get started on Connor's room. And yeah, that's why I decided to name the orangutan. Anyways, I crafted some shelves. But when I went to place them, I saw a huge sea rock through the window. I sailed my way through the other rocks. And soon enough, I arrived at Sulawesi. The next morning, I walked up the pathway ahead of me. This led me to some structures up ahead. And that's when I spotted Aditya. Alright, why am I here? Hello, Smitty. I'm glad you're able to make it. Yeah, why am I here, exactly? You're here because in order to defeat this next spirit, you must first understand how some communities treat death here in Indonesia. There is no better place to discuss this than Tana Toraja. And why is that? See, here in Tana Toraja, they treat the deceased as though they are alive. Here, death is seen as simply a step in the greater spiritual journey. The Torajan people will keep the deceased with them and even bring them to lunch. And when it comes time to bury them, a grand funeral is held. But even beyond that funeral, the deceased are regularly visited and given company. I want you to understand this before you head to find the Pochong over at Lake Toba in Sumatra. This spirit has been reported around the cemetery there. But remember, treat this one with kindness, for it only asks to pass on into the afterlife. The next morning, I rode my way through the island of Sulawesi. This was certainly a nice break from the myth-hunting action. I eventually arrived at a waterfall, and then decided to collect resources for the rest of the day. I followed the river further the next morning, but eventually decided to head back, as I knew that I would need to get started with this next spirit. I reached my ship that afternoon and worked on Connor's room some more. However, I had no idea what I would be awaking to the next morning. An earthquake shook the world around me. After it stopped, I tried to do some more base work, but then a really big one hit. Yeah, this one caused a huge crack to form right next to me. I knew I had to get going. I was not going to stay here. Regardless, I had to set sail for Sumatra. So I set my course and aimed southwest, as Sumatra is all the way over here. And when I do arrive at the island, I still have to sail up the west coast, as Lake Toba is up here. This led to the longest trip across the ocean yet. But while I make this voyage, let's discuss the spirit that I am now hunting. This is a Pochong, a spirit stuck wandering the mortal world, still wrapped in its burial shroud. As the story goes, a Pochong is the result of an improper burial, one where the body is not released from this burial shroud, thus leaving the soul to be stuck here on Earth. This spirit is not deadly nor malevolent, but rather stuck, waiting for someone to release its body from the shroud. Either way, this is the next spirit that I will be pursuing. By day 66, I had reached land again. However, I knew that this was definitely not Sumatra, so I could only assume that I was sailing along the beaches of northwest Java. With that in mind, I decided to disembark, as I still needed more bamboo for my roof. So I made my way into the tropical forests of Java, and I saw some monkeys that evening. Oh, and I also saw this leopard. But when I continued my search for bamboo the next morning, this happened.
Why is there now a boss bar above me?
I knew this was the creature after the Pochong, so I decided to try and find where it was. This led me to an opening, where a figure stood in the distance. I made my way towards the towering entity. And as I approached it, the creature charged at me. I quickly blocked its hits, and even got some in myself. But then it multiplied? Yeah, this was my sign to leave. Only as I ran, it hit me hard. I ran into the forest, knowing that I would be able to lose it in here. But as I turned around, I saw it standing on the forest edge, just staring at me. So I headed back to my boat, with my quest for bamboo no longer being worth it. And with that, I sailed west along the top of Java for the rest of the day. This continued through day 68 as well. Only by that evening, I was crossing between the islands of Java and Sumatra. That's when this island came into view. But once again, no bamboo in sight. I continued around the island the next morning. But then as another formed in the distance, I realized where I was. As this was no ordinary island in front of me. No, it was a volcano. One that might have changed history forever. This is the still active remnant of Krakatoa, which caused one of the deadliest natural disasters in history. In August of 1883, Krakatoa erupted, leading to the loudest sound in recorded history. This eruption was heard 3,000 miles, or 5,000 kilometers away. There is so much to the fallout of this eruption, but one of the most important things is that there was a renewed global interest in volcanoes after the eruption. After passing Krakatoa, I made my way through yet another day of sailing, as by now I had already reached Sumatra, but I still had to make my way to the northern end of the island. So I sailed through the night. But on the evening of day 71, I finally spotted a river opening on the northern part of Sumatra. I was really hoping that this led to Lake Toba, but I was soon distracted by the appearance of bamboo. I left my boat and immediately headed over to collect some. As I did, I had to kill some large insects. But I kept collecting bamboo anyways. However, that's when I saw something really interesting. There was a large flower here, and it seemed to be emitting something. So I collected it, and saw that it was a Rafflesia. Now these things are really cool, as not only are they the largest flowers on Earth, but they're also one of the smelliest, giving them the local name, corpse flower. Anyways, the next morning, I became hopeful, as I now sailed my way into a larger body of water. I decided to go ahead and stop here anyways, so I could add some more to my roof. But of course, I ended up needing more bamboo. Regardless, that evening, I saw some buildings ahead of me that told me I was at Samosir Island, which is, in fact, within Lake Toba. This is the world's largest crater lake, and the largest lake within all of Southeast Asia. This lake is surrounded by large green mountainous walls, which are actually the walls of a caldera. That's because Lake Toba was formed by one of the largest volcanic events within Earth's history. If you thought Krakatoa was bad, imagine the supervolcano that left behind this. Today, Lake Toba is said to be one of the most scenic locations in all of Sumatra, and this Minecraft recreation just doesn't capture the size. So maybe you'll just have to go and see it for yourself. I explored the island of Samosir the next morning, and saw a name tag within this house.
Oh, there's someone in there. Hello? You have something in your hair, it looks like. I don't know what to do. My brother, he went missing over in the Diang Plateau. Right, yeah, how can I help? Just please, find him.
As I explored the island some more, I saw this cemetery ahead, which I knew had to be the Pochong cemetery. I looked around the graveyard, but didn't see the spirit. So I decided to wait for the sun to set. As the night sky fell upon the cemetery, I began my search for the Pochong. I looked along the many gravestones and tombs, but only saw bugs. However, later that same night, I looked at the west side of the graveyard.
I see something moving. I see something moving. What is this? Ah, get away from me.
So I approached it.
Hey there. What you up to? Need help going to the afterlife?
I wasn't quite sure what to do now, as it just kept hopping around. So the next morning, I decided to check the other houses to see if they had any helpful information. And sure enough, the first one definitely did.
Is there anyone here? Yes, there is. Ooh. Alright, what info do you have for me? Ah, are you here for the Pochong? Yes. Have you tried using an item that cuts cloth in order to free it? That is probably, that's shears, right? That has to be shears.
However, when I went to the house next door, I was met with something a bit more ominous.
Huh. I came here on holiday with my wife, but she disappeared over on the island of Java. I really don't know what to do. Can you help me? I can try. I should stop agreeing to these things. Really? The last person who saw her is my friend. He's currently over on Mentawai Beach. It's off the west coast of this island. Just please find her. Alright, so now I know at least where I'm going next after this, but I still want to take care of this one first.
Either way, I made my way back to the cemetery right as the sun set. I found the Pochong rather quickly, as it seemed to be in the same general area.
Alright, come here. Can I approach you? Are you gonna hurt me? I can't shear you. Oh, and that hurt. That hurt. Or do I have to find where you're buried? Because that's gonna be... That's definitely what it is. It's gonna be a painful task, but let's do it. Alright.
I had to fight off multiple large insects. But eventually, I found what had to be the Pochong's grave. So I dug my way down, and sure enough, I found its body.
Oh. Yeah. This is where you're buried. Okay. Alright. Do I shear you now? Yeah. Rest in peace, my friend. Rest in peace.
And just like that, the Pochong had been released. Yeah, I wish more of the myths and folklore were like that. But unfortunately, I already know that the next one is very much the opposite. Either way, I knew where I needed to be next. So I got on my boat and sailed my way out. Oh, but I did collect some bamboo along the way. Anyways, I now had to make my way to the Mentawai Islands, which are over here, so it's not too far. With that being said, I sailed through most of day 76. That afternoon, I did find an island, but it didn't seem like the one that I was supposed to find. I decided to stop here anyways, as I really needed more fuel. Regardless, the next morning, I continued south. And finally, after a lot more sailing, I saw some trees in the distance, and a very long shoreline. But that's when I spotted a structure. I slowly made my way to the beach, and once I did, I saw quite a lively scene before me. But that wasn't the only thing I saw.
You're kidding me. Yeah, no wonder you two are looking at him. He's in the chair the wrong way. Right, what are you doing here? Ah, good to see you again, Smitty. So are you ready for your final quest? Yeah, sure. Very well. I was over in the Daya Plateau recently when I witnessed someone get taken by a beast so cruel and mischievous that the locals dare not speak of it. Alright, what creature is that? The Genderuo. Now please, go to the Daya Plateau and prove that you can really defeat the worst of what these islands have to offer. Sure, yeah, I've already encountered this guy. This is not going to be easy. Alright, sail along the southern coast of Java until you reach a large rocky opening. Follow the river path into the mountains, and you'll be at the plateau. But first, do me a favor. Alright, what favor is that? Go inside and grab a surfboard. This is Mentawai Beach after all, and we're getting an earthquake. I can't read the rest of that, but I get the gist. Okay. Now everyone is running. What are the odds?
The next morning, I headed in and got a surfboard. Then, I did some surfing. Now, just like Aditya said, the Mentawai Islands are known to be home to some of the best surfing spots in the entire world. But beyond that, these islands embody the very definition of a tropical paradise. That afternoon, I collected some wood, and then I finished the roof of my base. Finally, I fished through the evening. Now it was time for me to start the final leg of this journey, as I have to sail all the way over here to Java to find the Daya Plateau. This journey took multiple days, but while I travel, let me go ahead and rate the difficulty of Indonesia. These islands have given me a hard time, from the earthquakes to the crocodiles to the insects and any other wildlife I came across. But yeah, those first 10 days in Papua were especially difficult. So with all of that in mind, I give Indonesia a solid 8 out of 10 in terms of difficulty. But of course, there's still a few more days left, and who knows what else these islands have in store for me. I sailed along the southern coast of Java, looking for the rocky entrance that Aditya had told me about. And it didn't take long for me to find it. However, before entering the gorge, I wanted to get some food and properly prepare. So, I went hunting. I came across this bird, and then I decided to just do some fishing. I ended up catching a lot of box jellyfish for some reason, but after getting a few regular fish, I then continued on my way and entered the rocky river path. I passed under a stone archway before following the path further. And by that evening, I had made it to a waterfall. So, the next morning, I swam my way up the falls. Upon arriving at the top, I saw many terraces ahead of me. I then surfed my way up the river that cut through these terraces, climbing higher and higher in elevation. Soon enough, I saw the boss bar. This told me that I had arrived at the Daya Plateau. So with that, I climbed on top of this bit of terrain and looked around for the beast. That's when I spotted it over by this temple. I headed right for it and began attacking immediately. I was able to get a few hits in, but it returned those hits a lot harder. Before I knew it, I had to run. Once I made it to a safe distance, I went to heal up. But then I realized that I had left the food cooking in the furnaces on my ship. So with no other option, I ran back up the plateau and took some of these crops from the terraces. Then I healed up and headed back. Once again, I charged right at him. Only I was almost immediately reduced to 2 hearts. With my shield gone, I simply ran into the forests of Java. Yeah, I had barely survived my encounter with the Genderuo. This is the beast of Java, the Genderuo. This infamous legend is described as being a large humanoid figure with hair and glowing red eyes. And while you might associate that with something like Bigfoot, the Genderuo is very different, as this creature is supernatural and is known to be a malicious trickster, attacking humans for fun. This is the hardest of all myths that I will be facing, and it is also the final creature that I will be hunting, so let's hope I live to defeat it. I headed further into the forests of Java, as I was not in good shape. I needed food, and more importantly, a shield. So I decided to go ahead and take care of the shield by starting a mine. I found iron a little while later, but when I resurfaced, there was a leopard waiting at the top for me. Anyways, I crafted the shield, and then began my hunt for food. I wouldn't find anything until the next day, when I spotted this boar. Well, actually 2 boars. I went ahead and attacked the first one, but it hit me back. However, the second one almost killed me. Anyways, from there, I cooked the meat, and then began my trip to the coast, as I now needed water. I reached the coast on the evening of day 89, and immediately healed back up. I knew that now, it was time to go back. I reached the rocky river the next day. I then got on my boat and began to cook my food. And the next morning, I prepared for the final fight. I made my way over towards the waterfall, and then surfed up it, in an effort to save my stamina. From there, I surfed my way up the mountainous terraces of Java, re-entering the Dieng Plateau. Soon enough, the boss bar had reappeared. And so, I made my way over towards the Genderuwo, and began my final fight. This time, I was able to get multiple hits in, but then I realized that he was just staring at me. So I lured him over towards this open area, where I was then able to place cobwebs and trap him. From there, I carefully placed lava right where he was stuck. This ended up depleting his boss bar fast. That is, until he got free. So I ran. I then headed right back towards him and pulled off the lava trap once more. Only this time, I left the lava there for him to burn in. His boss bar just continued to drain, so I went in for the kill. Only as I did, he multiplied. And almost fatally hit me. Yeah, I was extremely low, so I ran for my life. Soon enough, I was able to get to a safe distance. So I went ahead and cooked some chicken, and then healed up. I knew that one more lava trap would be enough. So I headed back for him, and placed the cobwebs. The lava from Banda Api began to burn him. But right as he was about to die, he ran towards me. And I killed him. Just like that, I had defeated the Genderuo, one of the hardest mythical creatures yet. I surfed my way down the plateau the next morning. I then led my boat out of the rocky riverway and east down the coast of Java, as there is still one more thing that I want to see here on this island. After passing a volcano the next morning, I knew that landmarks should be just inland from here. So I disembarked and headed through the forests of Java one last time. Then the next morning, as I made my way into a clearing, I saw it before me. This is Borobudur, the largest Buddhist monument in the world. This World Heritage Site displays the true dedication and craftsmanship of the ancient world, as Borobudur was constructed over 1,200 years ago. Each level of this monument is meant to represent one of the 3 stages of the Bodhisattva enlightenment. But that's just one of the many details that you'll find hidden throughout this incredible structure. A structure that you can find in central Java. I start on my last bit of base work on day 95, as base review will be on day 99. I got to work on my room today, and added this little bungalow at the top. I also made a stand for the Rafflesia. Next day, I worked on the deck, and placed these chairs. I also just cleaned out the bottom of the ship, before working on the exterior on day 97. Finally, on day 98, I didn't actually end up doing anything, as I was pretty happy with the way my ship turned out. But with that being said, on day 99, I woke up and took a look around, before coming up with a final verdict. Now, starting with the exterior, this Mayang isn't exactly accurate, since I added multiple stories to it. But it does look pretty good. I wanted to add some more stories, but I'm honestly happy with the way it turned out. As for the interior, well, I honestly like the base floor the most. The other 2 floors are fine, but nothing special. Yeah, overall this ship isn't bad by any means, but I know I've made better bases in the past. So with that in mind, I give this ship a 7 out of 10. Anyways, with that being said, there is still one more day. I woke up on day 100 and sailed along the shores of Java. As I did, I thought about the last 100 days and just what kind of a wild episode this has been. See, Indonesia is a place full of many places, and what I mean by that is I didn't even scratch the surface of the wonders and sights within these islands. For example, we didn't end up going to Bali in this episode, which is one of Indonesia's most famous islands. All that means is perhaps you'll see it in the future. But regardless, these islands are like no other when it comes to their history, culture, wildlife, and essentially everything else. Indonesia might be prone to natural disasters thanks to the numerous volcanoes that you can find here, but among the earthquakes and eruptions, you can find a population that is not only resilient, but proud. Proud of their heritage and of their home. Because there truly is nowhere else on this planet quite like Indonesia. Alright, with all of that being said, it is about that time. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. That's unusual. That's also unusual. There we go.